Hey Gearspace, it's Chris here over at the Oberheim booth. We're here actually with the Focusrite group in the room. We've got Novation, Sequential, Oberheim, Adam Audio. We've got a lot of stuff going on in this room. But of course, one thing that we're really happy to be able to present now and talk about now, because people might have been talking a little bit about this before actually seeing it, but we've now got it here. It's the TEO5. So this is the latest Oberheim analog polysynth, 5-voice, based around VCOs and the SEM filter. It's a really, really lovely filter here, and this, I think, is where the real magic of the TEO5 happens. But it's a modern synth. It's got that classic old sound, but it's got a lot of the great things that you want to see on a nice new modern synth. So we've got a modulation matrix, got 2 LFOs, we've got effects over here as well, 2 envelopes, we've got FM on here as well. We've got through zero FM on the TEO5. That's the first time we've ever had through zero on an Oberheim synth, so actually that's a really lovely thing to have. But yeah, let me just put the microphone down. I'll just start to play a few sounds and then we can start to break down the synth and have a look at the various different aspects on there. So let's pop this down. So. Right, just going to go back to a kind of a traditional sort of Oberheim style patch as well, so you can hear a little bit of that. So you can see it's got quite a broad palette, quite a broad range of sounds involved in there. But if we go and have a look at the kind of the nuts and bolts of what we've got in the synth, I'm going to bring it back to a basic patch, and I'm just going to get the level up on the program here. So you see we've got a little menu here, and you've got a lot of things inside here, like a page 2 kind of menu. Yeah, you can basically, you've got a lot of additional controls in there, but of course we've got a lot of great stuff on the top panel. But anyway, let's go to the oscillators first of all. We've got 2 oscillators, and we've got 3 waveforms produced by each of those 2 oscillators. And instead of having a continuously variable wave shape control, we've actually got switches, so we can switch in and out the different oscillator shapes. So here we've got, well, in fact, let's just go for it. We've got a sawtooth. There's the saw. We've got a pulse width square as well, and of course we've got pulse width here. We've got a triangle too, so nice and kind of chilled out there. But of course we can combine them. So here's a triangle and saw. Let's stick all 3 on. So you're getting pretty complex wave shapes there just by being able to switch in and out the various different wave shapes that you've got. Of course we've got that by 2. So if I switch in oscillator 2, just detune that a little bit. Let's bring in those 3 wave shapes as well. So we've got a lot of stuff going on already just with 2 oscillators. Now, one thing you'll notice is we don't have a mixer on here specifically, but we do have the ability to change the volumes by just holding down the oscillator 1 switch here, and now you can change the oscillator level, just like so, which is pretty neat. Same for oscillator 2. Just hold down the button and change the oscillator level. And actually that works for all the things. So with a sub as well, we've got a sub oscillator in here. If I want to change the volume for that, I can just hold that down, change the volume, and that's it. Same with the noise too. Interestingly, on the pulse width, we've got that also for both oscillators. So if I press and hold the pulse width button, I'm having to do this while holding a mic. It's like standing on one leg and patting my head. But basically, I can change the individual pulse width position for each of the oscillators individually, just by holding down the button and then accessing it there. Once you've done that, the pulse width control is basically an offset for both of those, so that's pretty neat. And yeah, let's go to the cross mod. Let's go to, I'm going to use a triangle for this. So here we've got the through zero FM. So if I just maybe hold a chord, okay, or I'll take the sub and oscillator 2 out, but now when I use the cross mod, you can hear there that's staying nicely in tune up until the very end point here, where it can get quite wild. And that obviously is one of the real benefits of through zero cross modulation, or FM, because everything's staying nicely in tune. Now, I can actually create exponential FM on here as well, which is quite an interesting thing to do. So if I press, in my mod matrix, if I press the source button, and I'll move oscillator 2 frequency, like so, and the destination, I'm going to send that to oscillator 1 frequency. I've now got exponential FM. I've got oscillator 2 going into oscillator 1, and if I increase the depth of that now, so I'll put that on full, you'll hear it's quite a different sound. Let's just change this. I'm going to get this up an octave. There we go. Now I'm going to put the mic down to just sort of show how this works, but what you'll hear is, as I change the amount on this, it'll be quite out of tune. When we do it with the through zero, it's going to sound in tune. So you can hear there really kind of the difference between the typical kind of cross mod that you'll find on, you know, the OBX8, on the OB6 as well, essentially the same sort of things you find on sequentials with polymod, using the oscillators here, but also with this through zero, you've got a lot more stuff to do. Now you saw there with the mod matrix, you've got this really lovely way of being able to set up sources and destinations very quickly. Press the source button, move the control you want, press the destination button, and put it wherever you want. So we'll put the oscillator 2 to resonance, turn up the resonance, and let's get a bit more going on there, and turn up that. So we've got FM now on the resonance. Where has it gone? And if I just change the frequency. So we can add, you know, the oscillator to wherever we want. We've got so many sources and destinations in here. In fact, if we just have a quick look through, here we go. Yeah, I've got a load of sources, including audio out. We can take the audio signal out and fold that back in. We've got a DC, basically a nice direct current voltage, direct current offset that we can use for any things. We've got a random source as well, which I really like. Of course, we've got sample and hold on the LFOs here, but we've got an additional random source there as well. We can take the output from the filter and fold that back in. A whole load of stuff. And again, if I go down to my destinations, you can see we've got pretty much everything on the top panel is available to play around with. Now, one thing I've not really sort of shown so much, perhaps, is the filter, and that's what I think this is all about. So I'm just going to, again, go back to a basic patch here, and I'm just going to play around with the filter a little bit. It's a state variable filter, meaning we can crossfade between low pass, notch, and high pass. We can switch in a band pass as well. It's it doesn't self-oscillate. It's a non-self-oscillating filter, two-pole. But I mean that's the SEM sound, and this is where it all is from. So let's just get a sound going. Now, what I love to do with this filter is get that resonance in play. Although it was all the way up there, it wasn't. It was that's just because I'd reset the patch. Let's turn the resonance up now and have a quick listen to that. can hear that resonance has a really, really rich, pronounced kind of flavour to it, and I think that's for me is the real joy of this instrument. What else do we have? I mentioned before we've got 2 LFOs. We've got a mono LFO, we've got a poly LFO, so we've got five voices, so we've got 5 LFO points there. Arpeggiator, sequencer as well, really lovely sequencer to work with. 2 effects, so we've got a multi-effects up at the top here, and then a dedicated reverb underneath. And then we've got our envelope shapes, and the envelopes have been basically crafted, essentially modelled from the OB8. So they've got that OB8 kind of personality there. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the synth in a nutshell. Perhaps I'll just play a few patches now and let you have a listen. And yeah, thanks very much for watching Gearspace. Thanks a lot. There we go. So that's a good look at the TO5. Yeah, it's a really wonderful instrument. I'm personally really, really in love with it, especially with that filter. It's just got a real magic sensibility about it. A couple of things I should say also, of course, it's the TO5. You might be wondering why the name TEO. Well, it's an Oberheim synth. Thomas Elroy Oberheim is his name, so that's why we're calling it TEO. We're using his initials for that. And of course, it's really amazing that Tom is, involved in producing synthesizers still to this very day. And yeah, I mean, this is taking that kind of classic Oberheim flavor, but just bringing it into the modern age with all the additional modulation and all the wonderful things that we've got on there. So yeah. It should be available to go and test out in stores, hopefully sometime in July 2024. And yeah, so go get down to the store, go and have a play, and you'll soon see, what it's all about. Thanks a lot.